Hello, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube opportunities. It's been a while since I've popped up, and I think that's been a fantastic opportunity for me to spend some time on me. And one of the things that I love doing is learning more, so that when I turn up, I've got more to give, and it's such an important thing. Today, I'm popping up for a very specific reason. We've got Wade Hobba joining us. Wade, how are you, mate?
Amazing, thank you.
Look, I'm wrapped because you're an ambassador for the business of smiles. You've got your own program in Derek, which is growing, and I think it's an amazing opportunity for people to get on board for self-development. But our context for being here tonight is choosing love through life's toughest challenges, and it's something that you and I have had a beautiful journey on. And something that I'm really looking forward to having a conversation about. But firstly, I want to bring up why this conversation came about and why it's important today. Yesterday, I had a fantastic meeting with some really good people that I'm looking forward to expanding opportunities being presented. And the comment came, is there room for love in business? And for me, yes, there is. But that was a no-brainer for me. But I had a bit of a conversation with you, Wade, and I had a bit of a deeper think about this. And I'm like, choosing love, it's not something that's a regular conversation, especially for blokes. But having a conversation where you're choosing love through life's toughest moments has been both of our experiences. So I think it's a great idea to share that with people, because it's been such an intrinsic part of my personal development and such an intrinsic part of yours lately. So I'm just going to open up a little bit. Just give us a 2-minute spiel who Wade Hobba is today.
Who is Wade today?
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm someone that I'm proud of. So if we're talking about this topic of love, first and foremost, you really have to love yourself, don't you? And that's not something that would sit comfortable with me. It's sort of labelled cocky or up yourself, but it's not that at all. It's a different version. You picking up what I'm putting down there?
Okay, coming.
Yeah. So just finding myself. I've been on an incredible journey. I've had you by my side the whole time, and just learning to learn to love myself and just feel comfortable in myself and how I project. It's been really quite incredible. So, who is Wade Hobba? I've been on quite a journey of late. I've had some significant fork in the road moments, opportunities we like to call them. I'm 37. I'm from Melbourne. I'm a proud dad of 2 beautiful boys, but that's the surface level stuff, isn't it? That's the surface level stuff. Deeper, I'm a father. My identity would be I'm a carer, I'm a protector, I'm a lover, and I'm a family man. So that's a brief summary of me. How would you describe myself?
Oh, yeah, throwing me under the bus to put a description on you.
It's not something that's normal, like us talking about ourselves or trying to pitch ourselves. It's not something that's. I find it quite difficult and quite challenging, because how I see myself is probably different than the way other people see me. So I'm really intrigued to see, what do you think? Who do you think Wade Hobba is?
Yeah, look, I see a man growing. I see a man becoming the best version of himself. I see a man really starting to understand that life is not about himself, and it's about really having an impact on those that are in front of you. I see you understanding the value in that, the personal value in supporting others and help them to be the best version of themselves, especially in difficult times. It's which we'll dive into in a minute, but it's when we first met, you're a very different man to who you are today. There was a lot that was already in you, but today you choose love. Love is your tool at all costs. And that's something that I had a wonderful journey into from an old mentor, a gentleman by the name of Paul Purden, taught me, like, ask the one question: am I coming from love or fear with this situation? Yeah. How do I choose love? So that's been instilled to me over the years, that it's now a gift that you have that you give to others. So how do I see you? I see you a man progressing in life, a man progressing in his heart, a man progressing in the opportunities he's going to present forward. So pretty beautiful space, I reckon. How does that feel?
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm incredibly humbled that you see me in that light, because that's definitely how I want to project. And a little bit about my background. I was a youth worker for 10 years, and I've always had a passion to fulfill a purpose of helping others. I always feed others before I feed myself. And just through age and life experience, I've now found myself caring and trying to help a different demographic rather than working with younger men. I find myself working with men my age and older now. And just because my purpose, just aligning with my purpose in helping others, I think that's something that I've really found what I aim to strive for.
Beautiful. I'm dancing with that at the minute because men your age and older, like it's something that for me is an amazing opportunity. Anyone from the age of 30 plus, I find our younger generations are very articulate in the way they feel. I think there's always going to be grounds for growth, but supporting men 30 and beyond to actually be able to understand their emotions and understand what they're projecting is a really big way to move forward. And I know once you understand what you project, you can also understand what comes at you. So that's a big opportunity moving forward. But I don't want to head down that road today. And today we'll probably get in touch on it a little bit, but today I really want to understand, how do you choose love through life's really tough situations? How do you choose love? But I think we need to start by determining what love is, right? Because I think that's something that we don't question enough. We use the word love and, but I love you. But what does that actually mean? What does it actually mean to love somebody? Is it possible to love multiple people? The answer to that is yes. There's a far cry between love and intimacy. Love is something that's very important in my life, and it's something very important that I share with others. So I am going to throw you under the bus and ask you, Wade, what is love to you?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's new on my plate, but love is definitely forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And there's two layers to that. I feel, forgiveness for others, but more importantly, forgiveness for yourself. So when I was saying about that self-love, forgiveness for yourself, and also kindness, being kinder on yourself and being kinder towards others. I think that's really important. But it's only recently I learned the flower analogy. I think it's fantastic. Like I think it really sums up, especially love on many layers. Love as a father, love as a partner, love as a son, love as a friend. So the flower analogy, I was a flower picker. So someone picks a flower, and you say, "Well, why did you pick that flower?" And they say, "Oh, because I love the flower. It smells nice. It makes me feel good. It looks beautiful when I put it in my ear. I'm going to put it in a jar." But that flower is going to die. And the wise man then says to the flower picker, says, if you really loved that flower, you would water it, you'd nurture it, you'd give it attention, sunlight, you'd protect it. And then when I put that into, into my version of love, I was like, hang on a minute. Was I picking the flower for my own gratification? Was I picking the flower or was I loving someone because of how it made me feel? And then I understood being selfless and loving others is about giving more, because the more you give to someone, the happier it makes me feel now. So then my definition of love has completely changed, because I receive love by giving more to others than what I expect from myself, and that's the transaction that I get in return. By giving is receiving for me, not necessarily the other way around.
I do love that, but I had a wise man once told me that if we can't receive, then we rob others of the opportunity to love. We rob others of the opportunity to feel good. And that's something that we need to be really wary of, because love is a two-way street, right? When to be able to give, somebody has to be able to receive. But in order to receive, we need to be open to that. But I do love your ideology around love. I mean, it's something that you and I have discussed fairly regularly. My interpretation, okay, is I'm very much of the flare analogy. Right? I never pick it because it ceases to live. Yeah. And if I want it to grow, I want it to be nourished, I want it to grow to its fullest potential. So for me, love is acceptance. Acceptance of what is. Acceptance of the now. Acceptance of that is what it is. To really love, you need to understand it. You need to learn how to nurture it. You need to learn how to add water and where's the best place to plant that flower. Yeah. And then the love that other people feel is the appreciation, the honoring, the gratification of the acceptance of what it is. Like there's nothing more fulfilling in somebody when they feel understood. When someone has taken the time to be present, accepted them for who they are, chose to understand more about them, and then shows appreciation, that love, that feeling of being loved is just extraordinary.
And how powerful is that seeking to understand? The pair of the question. It is pretty powerful, because we get so caught up in our day-to-day lives, we don't take the time to actually seek to understand a lot of the time.
Yes. And I'm going to be conscious of diving off in a really big direction right there, because, that's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. It's habit 5. Seek first to understand. Once you understand, then you have the opportunity to be understood. But always seek first to understand in all aspects of life. This being said, right, we've just talked about love. We talked about acceptance, understanding, appreciation. And how the heck do you do that when life is smashing you to pieces?
Can we just backtrack a tick?
Yes.
So before the how, why is it important? I touched on before. Why is self-love important?
Okay.
And then we'll get to the how. So what I've learned is, when you're on an airplane, I've said this before, when you're on an airplane and they give you the safety briefing and they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
It's so you can help your children or the loved one next to you. So you have to essentially help yourself so you can, in order to help others. So if we apply that to love, I can't be pouring from an empty cup. If my cup's empty, and it's my love cup's empty, I've got none to pour out to others. So it's really important that I fill my cup up first so I can help others. Does that make sense?
Completely. And that is part of the journey that we're going to take, because when life throws pretty serious situations at you, you need to recognize self before you externalize. Right? The choosing of love in life's toughest moments has to start with self full. Yeah. So I self-love would be accepting where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being kinder on yourself.
Being kinder on yourself. It would be choosing to understand the situation.
Because we're all our own worst critics, aren't we? We're all super critical.
We are, but so often when big life situations happen, we react instead of responding. Right?
And with that self-love, if we don't feel like we're worthy, then when we do find love, how insecure are we in that relationship?
Share more.
So if I'm insecure and I don't feel love and it comes along, then that could lead to jealousy, or could lead to envy, or could lead to suspicion, or could lead to being over affectionate, overcompensating, toxic sort of habits or traits, because you don't deep down feel like you're worthy for that love.
Yes. So what I'm dancing with now is where we're heading directionally with the conversation, right? Because I'm looking at that going. It's so often in relationships, we lack confidence. We have fear. Yeah, of self-worth. We have fear of not being able to meet the other person's expectations. We have fear of inadequacy, that we're just not doing things right, right? Or that we're not up to par with things. I think that's a conversation for another day, because that's an internal relationship opportunity. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and
Did I go down the wrong rabbit hole?
no, definitely not. There's no conversation that's wrong.
Yeah.
Right. I just for today's topic, which is like I want to get back into. I'm going to get us back on track to where we're going, if that's all right. Because
done.
self-will is really important, but it's not 100% necessary to choose love in every situation. Okay.
Can you explain
that? Yeah, 100%. Because quite often life happens, right?
Yeah.
We are in a situation where when we have big problems in life and significant ones, we don't have the confidence to go through it. We have self-doubt. We have all those emotions going on for us. So how do we choose love in that moment? How do we choose it? Because what we're aiming to do is deal with the situation from love, not fear. Yep. So how do we do that?
We need to understand that you can't pour love and hate from the same vessel, really, can you? It's the switch that you can't switch off. So if you take a spring, for example, a freshwater spring, you can't sometimes have salt water pouring out of that spring and fresh water pouring out of that spring. The fresh water dilutes the salt and the salt pollutes the fresh. So by having that mentality and that approach, when I am confronted with something, I know that it's integral, it's pivotal that I have to approach everything with love, because I can't let the opposite dilute or pollute what I try to project.
Yeah. So choosing love, right? Choosing love, because one of the things that I'm cautious of is the language I personally use when talking about situations, especially tough situations. Yeah. How do I choose love in this moment is a really powerful question in itself, right? Because you're actively thinking about how you can respond to this situation rather than reacting. Okay. So I'm going to give a personal story, okay, inside. how I chose acceptance, understanding, and appreciation in order to create a new dialogue in a really, really tough situation. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have had a difficult relationship with my father over the years, and it's been one that's created a lot of internal tension in me. So having Oscar gave me the opportunity to understand that the only thing that would truly kill me is if Oscar never spoke to me. Right? If Oscar put a line in the sand that had absolutely nothing to do with me, that would kill me. If that was his choice. Yeah. That got me thinking, in my hands, do I have the power to heal my father's heart by having a conversation with him? If that's my biggest pain, is his biggest pain the same thing? So it created a dialogue in me of, okay, do I want to do something about this? Can I do something about this? I spoke to a mentor when I started working with men, and he goes, "You're a bit of a fraud, aren't you?" I've gone, "What?" He goes, "You still haven't healed the relationship with your father." I'm like, "Oh, there's a big knife right in the front." It's like, he goes, "I've hit you hard here, but deliberately, because I want you to go through that." So I called him up immediately when he said that. I called my father and said, "Hey, listen, I'd really like to catch up. I know it's been pretty difficult over the years, but I'd really like to have a conversation and see if we can't find a way to move forward." At this point, I'd done a lot of self-development, right? So I understood that when I spoke to somebody, I couldn't project my story. I had to accept where I was at. I had to accept where he was at. And I had to choose to understand. I had to go through the stages of love, choosing love, right? I accepted the situation as was. The next part was taking the opportunity to understand. He answered the phone. He goes, "Yeah, I can meet you now." I went, "Okay." So I went and met him at a pub, and the first thing I said to him was, after we did the pleasantries, "Thank you for coming. Nice to see you. In order for me to have a relationship with you, I need to see you through another set of eyes." I said, "Because every time I speak about you, my anger comes up, and that's what I project our relationship. So therefore, Oscar feels that. So in order for you to have a relationship with your grandson, I need to project something different." At this point, I turned around and said to him, "I'd like to learn about you." And he goes, "You know me?" I said, "No, I don't." We had a conversation, further conversation, and I talked about his mum and how she passed away, and that was my last memory. And that was a horrible thing that I'd never want Oscar to see. He goes, "Okay, I'm happy to sit and have a conversation." I said, "Thank you," shook hands, and we left. It was 6 months later. He came over, showed him around my house, and put a microphone between us. And I sat there and learnt his story. Now that actual video is actually in the Campfire Project. Okay, it's if anyone wants to join the Campfire Project and have a look at that video, just type in Scott Carson and father, and that will come up. And it was in the understanding and taking the time to actually understand who he was, how he grew up, what happened in his life, without my projection of my story or anything I needed, which gave me an understanding of who he was. Once I understood how he grew up, the things that he went through, I didn't have to forgive him. I just had an appreciation for who he was and how he survived. I'd gone through the process of love in my deepest and darkest conversation, the one that had hurt me for 40 years. Choosing love is putting time between incident and response. A reaction is normally a poor decision. A response is a fantastic opportunity to find growth, because a problem isn't the problem. It's how we respond to the problem that either causes the pain, the lesson, or the opportunity. The key with painful situations is we've already got them. We've got the pain. We accept that that is our pain. Then we seek to understand and we grab the lessons from that. Okay? We grab the lessons from that pain. When we understand the lessons, then we can create the opportunities to move forward. And that is where the gold is. That is where the absolute gold is. So now when I speak about my father, I don't have the pain. I don't carry that any further, because I have an appreciation for that journey.
Yeah, that's powerful. And you touched on something. And you touched on something about looking at it through a different lens, through a different perspective. How powerful is that?
Oh, 100%. Right? In order to change the world, you don't have to change the world. You just got to change the way you see it. Right? So with that, if you change the way you see the situation and you get new information, you can't see it the old way any further. Yeah. So I'm just going to dive into you a little bit, because when we met, there was some serious life challenges for you, right? And I'm so grateful to have been there, just to be by your side. There's no right or wrong. I had the opportunity to love you through your darkest days, right? But I do want to talk about what happened, and if it's okay, with what happened with your mum and dad, right? Because if I'm oversharing, please pull me up. But you had a relationship with your mum and dad that could have been better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. When we spoke, you had a lot going on in your life, which we'll dive into in a little bit. But we made the plan to go and support and get an understanding and be present without projecting. Fair assessment?
Yeah. Yeah.
During that time, you learnt more about your mum and dad.
Yeah, I did.
So you had more of an appreciation for them, which created more love in you and a want to be present.
Yeah, exactly.
So rather than me give a version of events, do you mind sharing?
Yeah. Yeah. From which point?
From that point. From just with your mum and dad, and then we'll talk about other things after that.
Yeah. I lost a sibling, but we have to understand my parents lost a child. If we're on the topic of love, there's no love greater than a parent's love for their child, especially a father for his daughter, his only daughter. And no parent should have to bury their child. No parent should outlive their child. So that happened.
Yeah.
And previously, my relationship with my parents, I was a flower picker. And it wasn't a reciprocal relationship. If I was investing time, energy, if I was the one that was initiating a phone call, and that gesture or that love wasn't reciprocated, I would feel hard done by. How many times do we send a text message to someone and they don't reply, and then we feel like that we're being hard done by because they haven't replied? So I started going down the rabbit hole. I'm the one that always has to initiate. I'm the one that always has to call. I'm the one putting all the work. They're not babysitting my kids, but they're babysitting my nephews. So they got into this whole flower picking. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. And then things just lost their way, and so I got bitter. Because maybe it was sibling rivalry. If you compare yourself against others, you get bitter. If you compare yourself against yourself, you get better. I was constantly comparing myself against others, always wanting the attention that they had or the affection they had, and it was always there. It's just that I had so many bloody walls up that it was difficult for it to communicate to me, or it was uncomfortable to communicate to me because the way I had projected towards them. So there's a catalyst, there's a paradigm sort of shift. My sister passed away very young, and I find myself going home. Hadn't been home for 16 years. I find myself going home. I had other things going on in my life in the background that sort of the timeline sort of clashed, where I wasn't going to them with a great deal of pride, like with my shoulders up. I was going, sort of a bit with my tail between my legs, seeking forgiveness and support at the same time. But I had Scott Carson in my corner, and I was able to go to them as a man. I owned my story, and I sought understanding. I was just there, just really to support and just to be loving and just let bygones be bygones and just understand that I'm a complete different person, and so are they. And do you know what, Scott? It's incredible. This whole journey's been incredible because I don't regret not spending time with my parents, and I don't regret that because what we really talk about, you and I, is that there's no wins and losses. Like that isn't a loss. That time away from them and the resentment or the bitterness that I had, it created lessons that I could learn from, and I can love better now as a result of that. Like you can't enjoy the sweet without tasting the sour. You can't enjoy summer without experiencing winter. So yeah, I had a bit of a rough try, and then I went back, and my relationship's been quite different. Now I know how to lead in a relationship just naturally, just be a leader and not expect anything in return. I don't know. I might be going a bit off topic. Catch me if I am.
No, I'm going to grab a couple of things. One, I'm going to ask you to tilt your microphone down a little bit, because I really want people to hear what you're saying properly, because this is a pretty poignant conversation, right? Because it's like when life happens and really tough conversations need to be had, they're not easy to have. They're not easy to pull apart.
Well, you can see how I tiptoed and fluffed around that,
No, but this is the whole point, right? We need a safe place to do this. We need a safe place, which is something that I haven't even touched on yet that I really want to. It's our environment when we have these conversations, understanding our energy, understanding that we are going to struggle with these things. So it's important to have someone in your corner just helping you through the actual conversation. Practice a conversation. Like we at that time we actually talked about the conversation and how you're going to have it, and the clear decision was to not really say a lot, to observe and just listen.
Yeah, presence was my present.
Correct. The gift
how
of
you
presence,
show up and
right?
how you turn up. Yeah.
So I'm gonna digress a little bit, because I think, and please put in the comments if you feel that we've helped with an understanding of choosing love in the moment of connecting with parents, because I want to go into more into another situation that's going on for you right now, and it's a really, really tough one. So many men and women, when they separate or if they have a significant life issue, create more pain than they do good, because they're not prepared to actually look at themselves. They project externally rather than looking at self and being aware of the impact that they have. They project their fears. You know, like there's no man I've ever met that's been going through a divorce that I haven't said to him, it's time to become a better man. No matter what happens in your relationship, at some point you love that person. Don't stop loving them. Yeah. Just because it hasn't worked, don't stop loving them. You need to ensure that you leave with a heart full. So many men these days don't see their kids when they're split. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of kids getting around without fathers in their life. Like, it's. I wish it wasn't at least a weekly conversation for me. It's pretty much a daily conversation for me, and it's heartbreaking. Someone who values fatherhood so much and understands the importance of it, to have this as a conversation. But how do we choose love, right? How do we choose love when our pride and joy, our kids aren't around us? How do we choose that?
But what's the opposite? What's the opposite look like?
Fear. The opposite is anger. The opposite is redemption. The opposite is revenge. The opposite is create more pain for other people.
So those thoughts and those emotions, what behaviors and decisions do they lead to?
Correct. More pain, more problems. Hurt people, right? And this is choosing love, right? This is such a hard thing to do in a deeply emotional state. Or is it?
Initially, it is.
Initially, it is. Why do you say that?
Because initially you haven't done the work. You haven't sought to understand.
Go deeper on that.
Well, for me, it was when I understand that life happens for me, not to me. Where I started to find the golden nuggets. And
so, how did you get to that point? How did you Let's look at that, because that's not a common statement, right?
Yeah,
life happens for me, not to me. How
incredible! But when you listen to that and you start to understand it, how pivotal is that? That life happens for me, not to me.
Sorry, I'm considering what that means and how to get to that point, because that statement means that you're responsible for that.
And the how is, I just had to find myself. I had to find out who was Wade. I had to love myself, be forgiving of myself, and build myself back up. And it wasn't until my cup was up until I could overflow into others. That was the how. Do the work on myself.
So this is I love this, right? Because clearly we turn up and we have an honest discussion in front of people. I've always done that. We don't have a preset agenda. We have a preset for a conversation, but we don't sit there and talk about everything to say.
It's my agenda.
Yeah, I know, right? So, but that's really important, right? Because when we're having these tough conversations, they need to be real. We need to stumble through them, so that and have the courage to do that, because then that gives us the opportunity to grab things that we otherwise don't hear. So the biggest key for me is choice. right? What do I want to choose to be? Do I want to choose the pain and the fear? Or do I want to take the bold action to find love in this situation, to choose love with every action moving forward? Now, choosing love is sometimes not engaging. Choosing love is putting the time between incident and response so that you don't react.
Adding to that, pain is inevitable. Suffering is an option.
Correct.
There's going to be painful. There's going to be painful circumstances. Someone loses a daughter. Someone goes through a breakup. Someone doesn't see their kids. There's always going to be pain.
Whether or not you stay in that pain is a choice.
Exactly. Suffering is an option.
Correct.
And how you use that? Do you use that as fuel?
My answer to that is always yes. Yeah, but it's a journey to get it to the point where it is fuel, right? And that comes back into environment. Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things that has been extraordinary in spending time with you is being the people around you, right? Understanding who is going to add more pain and fuel to the situation. So often, like people, holy moly, Kylie, I was going to call you back. Sorry. Suffering is what we do to ourselves, 100%. And I tell you what, this woman knows. Kylie's a death doula. Kylie's one of the most amazing. Kylie is one of the most amazing people. I'll call you after this, Kylie. Kylie's a death doula. She helps people as they pass over. She knows the importance of this subject. I'm always tempted to bring her on. But at this point, and thank you, Kylie, the choice of suffering, what does it bring more of? Suffering.
Exactly.
Yeah. One of the greatest things that I've had the pleasure of doing numerous times is to sit with men and who haven't seen their kids and say to them, do you want to give your kids a power that they have that you wouldn't be able to give them otherwise? And they become confused by this. And what do you mean? I said, what if you become the best version of you so the next time you see your kids, you can thank them? Thank them for giving you the power and strength to be a better man because they're worth that. If you're going to go through pain, make it count. Make it count.
Or let it shape you, not break you.
Correct. Yeah. But that's what I want to share tonight more than anything, right? Is how do we choose love? We accept where we're at. We get a deeper understanding for the situation. And then we find the appreciation for what's to come. We find the appreciation for the journey. We find appreciation for the situation, the people in the situation. Knowing that people only ever make a decision to make the right decision can be a very tough statement when somebody's inflicting pain upon you. But why is that their decision? Why is that?
People hurt people.
Hurt people, right? Rather than taking that responsibility and actually owning that.
Owning your story, how big is that in the step? The ownership.
I think I said it earlier, like in order for the world to change, you don't have to change the world. You just got to change the way you see it. if you change your world and you improve you, everything around you improves.
Yes. So that goes back to what we discussed within our program, the importance of controlling your controllables. So when we feel like we have loss or everything's sort of not within our grasp or we can't change things, we start to get bitter. But just by focusing on controlling your controllables, for example, you touched on environment. I could control my environment, so I could control who I spent time with, who I surrounded myself with, controlling what we consume through our eyes, so what we see, what we read, controlling things through our ears, not necessarily only what we listen to. Are we listening to music, or it's more important to who we're listening to. So by understanding, you become what you consume. Always, growing up, they say you are what you eat. And they do the lunchbox diagrams. You are what you eat. So we have this heavy emphasis on what we consume through our mouth is who we become or what we become. But it relates to all the senses. Who and what we consume through our eyes, who we consume through our ears, equally as important to what we consume through our mouths in order for mental fitness. And that applies to what we're talking about, how to love. Well, who are you listening to? What are you watching? You turn on TV, do an experiment. You can turn on TV, you flick through every TV channel, and it's Married at First Sight. They're just the relationships and the love that's role modeled on mainstream television, especially prime time when there's influential eyes and ears sort of tuning into that audience. How are they role modeling healthy relationships? And that doesn't just apply to Married at First Sight. You turn on The Block these days. Turn on The Block. So we're talking about a renovation show, and it's relationship breakdown after relationship breakdown. And how can we role model healthy stereotypes of love when it's plastered all through our popular culture, negative depictions and portrayals of that? So that's why it's really important we jump on our community and we have important discussions such as this, where we do talk about love and the importance of love and the flower analogy, and making sure that you get yourself first so you can project to others and so you can fill others' cups up. So it's really amazing what you're doing, putting this platform on so people can tune in and have this conversation, because there's not too many places in society, or not too many environments where people can have courageous conversation. Especially, this shouldn't be a courageous conversation. This should be a conversation that's had at dinner tables, because I just feel, especially with our phones, I feel we're so disconnected with how to love, as you said, how to receive love. So I'm very grateful that you put the time and effort to put this on your platforms. You're a pretty special human, Scott.
Thank you, Wade. It's funny because I haven't been around for a while. I haven't been turning up and having the big conversations that I used to have, because I needed to become self-full. One of the big things that I don't want to talk about, I'd rather role model, is the fact that I step away at times. I have big conversations all of the time. And in order for me to continue to have those conversations, I need to have some respite. I need to go and fill my cup up. I need to become self-full by having adventures and spending time with people who take me to the next level, who give me the opportunity to understand me and my projection further. That is one of the most important things as a human. Like, we've been running the Smiles for Life dinners in Frankston for nearly 2 years now. And it's pretty much a self-development, personal development opportunity where we come together and we challenge topics. We've had conversations from politics to suicide to values to self-worth to anger to emotions. No conversation is off the table. Rather, we encourage the conversation to be had so that we can grow and we can grow together. not making anything wrong, making everything an opportunity to understand and learn. Like I love Ted Lasso, the Ted Lasso series, because it's, be curious, not judgmental. It's such an opportunity. Like, we all have judgment, and judgment's really important. Yeah. Judgment helps us make decisions, but let's get curious before we make the judgment. Let's understand why somebody made a decision before we make a judgment on that. Like I've never met anybody who hasn't added value to my life. Now, those that know me know that I've spent time with all sorts of people from all walks of life. Every single one of them's taught me something. Sometimes it's what not to do. And that's okay too, because that's still an opportunity to learn. So we're getting towards, we're 50 minutes in, and it's a big conversation. There's a lot more to be had, and I'm going to reach out to Kylie as soon as I finish this, because I wouldn't mind hearing Kylie's opportunities around this, how to choose love, in life's toughest moments, right? When someone's passing away, when you lose a loved one, right? Grief is the last gift of love. Yeah. You only ever grieve somebody you loved. What an opportunity.
And on that note, I went to a funeral on Thursday. So this is a bit off topic, but I don't. We get so invested in pursuing material things, and we love the wrong things sometimes. We love our car, or we love our home, or place so much emphasis in. We love these shiny objects. But it's the 7th funeral I've been to since February. And do you know what the common denominator amongst all those are?
What is it?
It's the word that you said before. It's adventure. Every single eulogy that people speak about, they speak about memories and adventures. They don't speak about the shiny car or the house or the bank account, the things that we think we love or the things that we place heavy emphasis on. It's all adventure, and it's that element of human interaction, that connection. And I don't know, it took death for me to really notice that, or it took loss for me to see that. So death, which I thought was a sad thing, it actually gave me incredibly beautiful gift. It gave me a new perception on what love is and what life is, and the importance of that connection and soaking it up and having an adventure. So if I showed you my fridge at home, my children and I, we chase fridge magnets. So everywhere we go on. We don't call them holidays or day trips. We call them adventures. So that's filling my cup up. That love for adventure, I think that's huge. Sorry, bit off topic, but I thought I'd share that.
But it's completely not off topic, because choosing love, in life's toughest situations or challenges, death is one of those challenges that we're so sanitized from that we don't have the value of it. And this is beautiful. I love that Kylie's chiming in right now. No eulogy ever talks about the stuff people have. It's always about the feelings of love. 100%.
100%.
Like I this is gonna sound crazy, but I get excited when I get the opportunity to go to a funeral. I get to hear the stories that people really love, and the memories they cherish. And it's always like, a life is only a life if it's lived, but the difference between a good life and an extraordinary life is the stories you can tell. Yeah. And it's fascinating, because when we look at life and Indigenous life, it's always been about the stories that have carried throughout. And it's the adventures and the difficult situations we go through that really tell how somebody lives. And I think choosing love in tough situations, geez, it makes a difference.
Yeah, and it's strange how it pops up with loss. You don't really appreciate something or realize how much you love it until you lose it.
Choose how much you appreciate it.
Sorry, what was that?
How much you appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think and then you get an understanding of, you dive into it and you go, what is it that I actually really miss? I miss the connection. I miss the growth. I miss the adventures.
And that's a gift that I got from that funeral last week as well.
Yeah.
Is that we take every day for granted. Like we just expect the next day. We expect the next day. We just expect that hourglass to keep topping up. And I told you I experienced so much loss this year. So much loss. I'm a bit numb to it, to tell you the truth. But finally, I saw the lesson in it, and that is our own mortality. And that because there is an end point, it means that we can really appreciate the days that we do have. If we just live forever, I used to say, why does it have to? And I used to dread death. I used to think death was a curse. But now, because it makes life, it's not finite. It makes our days so numbered. It makes them even more precious. So that when I start to understand that helps create a complete different element of what love is. Because I'm not just making up the numbers anymore. I'm not taking things for granted. Things aren't never ending. Things do die. Things do go. So that's why presence is the biggest present of them all. Now I don't live life like there is no tomorrow. I live life like there is no today. I said that before. How special is that when you put love in perspective?
You're not picking the flower, you're helping it grow.
No, 100%.
So, look, it's been an interesting conversation tonight, Wade. It's.
I feel we lost our way a little bit.
No,
but I think there was. I think there's some really good golden nuggets there.
Yeah, but I think more than anything, it takes great courage just to have this conversation and step into the opportunity of growth, right? It takes great courage to just turn up and put yourself out there to say, do you know what? I want to choose better. I want to find something different. I want to try and choose love. It changed my life forever. Choose love. How can I choose love in this moment? How can I love this person more? But I encourage every single person to understand their version of love. Understand what love is to you. Be curious about that love. Because if you know what that love is, it gives you conviction in walking through some very tough situations and walking out, not only with your head held high, but generally with relationships that are so much more connected. You fill your own cup when you resolve the opportunities in front of you with love.
Wow.
So, on that note, I'm going to ask you, Wade, just for one bit of gold from you. In recent times, one bit of gold from you. Where has love turned up that you didn't expect it?
In a year.
Oh, that is way funny. So for those that don't know, I met Wayne in a urinal at the Hilton Hotel in Melbourne. So standing there at the urinal, both going to the toilet. I handed a man a pair of yellow socks. That's fantastic. That's actually quite good. I'll pay that. And I'm actually going to take that as I'm going to take that as one, because that is the truth. Okay.
I'll leave it at that then.
Somewhere that I found love that and I chose to embrace it, was Bhutan. I had the most loving time with the most loving people, and that for me created a whole new opportunity of self-ful, and I just adore it. Like that's been my most recent, and like, and if I'm to dive into a deep love, the deep love I have for you, Wade, it's a beautiful thing because we're taking the time to meet each other where they're at. We're understanding each other's journey, appreciating it, and we're finding ways to move forward together. And I think that is something that is absolutely wonderful. So, yeah.
I love you, brother. Love
Beautiful.
you.
Love you too. All right. On that note, listen, we're
Love you,
going
Aaron.
to. Yeah, good man, Aaron. He's a growing man. So, next Thursday, we've got a Smiles for Life dinner in Frankston. I'm going to get up. I'm going to start turning up regularly on a Wednesday night. Again, it's been a long time. I'm self-full at the moment. And what I've got coming up is extraordinary. One of the things actually that I haven't been projecting that I want to start projecting, the business of Smiles. A lot of people know it. A lot of people know that it has a serious impact. How do you help? How do you help the business of Smiles continue to have its impact, continue to support our men, continue to create benefit in our community by learning, understanding, and loving our communities? You get us to speak at a function. You give us the opportunity to use our voice and our experiences to share, to grow, to create more presence for one another. Wade is now an ambassador for the business of Smiles. Having him present at your workplace, having you present at a function is an extraordinary opportunity to create deeper connection for all people within your direct impact. And I say impact because having us speak not only has an impact on the people there, it actually helps us have a social impact. This Friday night, Wade, we're actually walking the streets of Melbourne again. All thanks to Lend-Lease, who gave us an opportunity to do a presentation on Are You OK Day.
How incredible was that?
It was fantastic. And the profit from that goes directly back into our community. It's not about the money, it's about the impact that we have. We turn up and have these conversations because they're important and because we bloody well care. We choose love.
And on that note, those profits, they feed those magical pair of yellow socks.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for those magical pair of yellow socks. So imagine how many people really they find their way, those socks. They find who needs them. So imagine how many people will be able to help on Friday thanks to that contribution by Lend-Lease. Incredible.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that one of the boys from Lend-Lease actually comes out and sees the impact. So anyway, thank you for watching. It's been a while since I've popped up. I'm grateful to pop up. I'm grateful for you taking the time to sit and listen to us work through situations. Like we're after courageous conversations. We want you to be a part of them. So from my heart to yours, thank you for everything you do. Thank you so much, Wade, for being a part of this extraordinary journey.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Good night. Now, traditionally, where is that button? It's been a while. I may not be able to find it. Oh, here we go. There it is. No, is that it? Oh, jeez, I have no idea. Where is it?